You know, when I walk into a room and I've got a cup of hot beverage in my hands, you usually know that you're in for a sit-down video with a lot of dialogue and a lot of intense sipping. Well, today it's going to be another one of those videos today. I haven't done one for a while, and I just felt like I want to sit down and talk to the camera for a bit about something that's quite dear to my heart. It's photography, hence the little bit of an arty intro. Don't know if that works. I did about 30 different takes from different angles, doing different things with all my photos. I don't know whether it'll work or not yet, but hopefully you saw that, if it's any good. But I'm not entirely sure yet. But yeah, photography. It's a thing that's really close to my heart, and it's something that I don't know why, but I've always, ever since I was young, I've always thought cameras are cool, and you know, you can capture a moment and then it's there forever in that snapshot. And I find that I've always found that really, I don't know, like really something that's grabbed my attention, and I enjoy capturing those moments. And I think photography for me sort of started to be actually like an arty thing for me, like actually starting to try in like we're about 6 or 7 years ago. So I was quite a young boy. Sorry, you could probably hear my cat in the background. So I was about 10-ish, and it was more or less because my parents bought me a camera, and it was only a little point and shoot thing, and I took it on a school trip once, and I just took loads of pictures. And I enjoyed taking those pictures, and I thought, you know what, this is actually quite cool, I might do this more often. So I did, and I started doing more and more. And then I got a teacher in year 6, I shan't mention his name, but it was a great teacher. And he was really into photography, like he proper went for it, but he wasn't like professional by any means. He was like me, just amateur. And he used to take pictures of wildlife and like rivers and things, you know, like in Padley Gorge, like on a slow shutter speed. And those were the first pictures I sort of looked at and thought, my God, this is so good. Like, I'd never really taken another thought to, well, spared a thought for like actual proper arty photography. I just saw photography as a means to create memories that last for a long time, which is what most people use it for. And so I looked at these images and just thought, wow, this is amazing. And then it just turned out that we had a lesson where he taught us like the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds was like the first thing I ever learned in photography. And it wasn't even like a main subject. It was literally just, he took us into an ICT suite, one lesson towards the end of year 6, which is after you've done like your SATs. And there was only a few of us in because the rest of them were off at secondary schools doing different things like inductions. And it was just me because I went off to a weird school like miles away from my primary school, and only 3 of us went there from my original primary school. So there was only a few of us in, and he sort of sat us down and talked us through how to take good photos and how to like get rid of the background on photos. So we ended up like photoshopping ourselves onto a New York background and things, and that was really cool, and I really enjoyed it. And that was at the point when I just thought, yes, this is something that I'm gonna try hard at. And then over the years, of course, the first like DSLR camera, my dad bought it like the next year, and it was a Nikon D3100, and it's actually a camera that I used up until about March when I got this camera that this has been recorded on. I've still got it, and I still use it as a B camera sometimes. So sometimes when I flip between shots in videos, usually the shot that I flip to from like the main shot is filmed off of that camera, and it's not a brilliant camera for this. It's more a picture camera, and even a picture camera, it's the really low end DSLR, but it did the job. And like all the pictures that I took in New York and all sorts were all taken on this camera, and that was where that camera really allowed me to explore using a real DSLR camera, and that allowed me to gain the skills to move up to one of these cameras, which is the Canon 750D. And even this one isn't like a professional camera by any means. It's just like, I saw it as the next stage up because it did better video. It's got a massive sensor on it. It's like 6,000 by 4,000. Like, that's just so big. I mean, it's not full frame, but it's a really good stills camera and actually a really good video camera, which is why I bought it. Like, it's got a flip out screen and everything. It's really cool. And this camera has allowed me to really go into manual mode and muck about with the settings. Like, now I have the aperture set. This whole video will be recorded in manual. Like, I've set the shutter speed to a low shutter speed, like 1/30th. Usually I'd set it to 1/60th, but the lighting is a bit dark in here because it's actually night time. It's about 8 o'clock, 8 or 9 o'clock. And I wanted to like use some of the lighting that I've got in this room because it's a different set. And it was a difference between my usual LED ridden, colourful Technicolor thing, and I thought I'd go for a more rustic look anyway today. Anyway, yeah, so I'm mucking about with camera settings now. Like I know that aperture is going to create a really blurry background now. I know the background isn't too blurry because the camera isn't that close to me. It's about 2 foot away. Like, that's the sort of thing that I'm moving towards now, where I can actually, I've got the confidence to just muck about with camera settings, which I think is the first sign of really knowing what you're doing. Yeah, and also, like, the first picture I ever uploaded to the current Instagram account, Sam Out Photography. If you haven't followed it, go and follow it, please, please, please. But yeah, the new one. We'll not go into the old one. It was like, I had it for a week and I hated it because it was just pointless. Because all I saw it was for girls to put selfies on of themselves so that other girls can go on it and go, "Oh, you're so beautiful," when actually they've got a monobrow and have the face kicked in by a horse. I'm not making any comments about people who I know. It's just being cynical about that's how I felt about Instagram when I was 12, you know, and now I've come back to it and I've realised that there's actually a really good photographic community on there of people who upload really good pictures. So I started uploading my pictures to it. You've probably seen the first one I ever uploaded on screen. As you can see, it's not amazing. Like, my first few pictures that I put on there, I look back now and I just think, Jesus, like, that's not actually that good. But for me, what, 5 years ago? Not even 5 years ago, probably 3 years ago, because I think that's when I started it, actually. Yeah, because I was like 14. So I started it two-ish years ago. Bloody hell, it seems like a lot longer to me. But they don't look very good, and it just shows how far I've come, like, in 2 years. And I think because I started off just taking pictures on my, I think it was a Sony Xperia SP, which had an 11 megapixel camera on it, which was really good, and it was just like my point and shoot that I'd replaced my Fujifilm camera with that I took on school residentials when I was younger. And then I started mucking about with it in the settings on Instagram. You know, you can change all like the vignette, and like you can put fancy effects on it. Like, I never put filters on it. I like to completely customize my picture and make it like no other. But for some reason I just look at a sunset, think, oh my god, that's amazing, take a picture of it, saturation straight up, and it just goes grainy and horrible. And I just thought it was great because look at all the pretty colours. But I look back at that now and think, no, that's why I shoot on RAWs. Like, all my pictures are RAW files, and on a Canon camera, 6,000 by 400 pixels, the card fills up quickly. Like, I can remember when I went to Tenerife, I didn't quite understand how much room RAW files on this camera take up. Like, I took probably 2 days worth of photographs, and it was already full. It was like, I'd used 1 gigabyte of a 16 gig card, when on my old camera, where I used to shoot on RAWs with that one, it'd probably use up about 500 megabytes. It'd be nothing. And it was like, oh crap, what do I do? But yeah, that quality and being able to muck about with pictures by shooting in RAWs is the newfound thing that I've found and I've started to use. And I've even started to like muck about with film. Like, film, you think, why would I do that? Well, you look at old pictures I absolutely love physical photographs, physical storage medias. I love putting a CD into a player and pressing play and seeing what's on it. It's the physicality of it. It's nice, you can pass a picture around. Passing a phone round isn't as cool because it's not there, it's not physical. I know I'm going into a bit of a physical rant here, but like, I like having physical things and old things, which is why I started shooting I think I've only done 2 rolls of film so far, but I might return to it. See, the thing is, I chose the wrong time of year to start. I chose winter when all the lighting was so dull and grey. It was unbelievable. It was hard to do, and that put me off, because like my first roll of film was awful. It, like, nothing came out well on it at all, and that's because I just didn't know what I was doing. But I do think my second roll was marginally better. It was better, there were some really good shots on it that I've used for my Instagram, but it wasn't by any means unbelievable. And I think it takes, every photographer needs to use film just to truly understand how lucky we are with digital, and also take the photographer out of their comfort zone, where before then I was usually just sticking it in auto and leaving it there. But after using film, even though I was using an Olympus Trip 35 where you can't really change much, like it's got 2 set shutter speeds and an aperture ring and a focus ring, but it was after that, like I used the aperture and even though it's automatic, I still mucked about with it a bit. And I think it's given me more confidence to go and use manual more on my digital camera. Like, I only used to use manual when I was filming to create like a nice swoopy effect, moving effect type thing on the camera. So like, I've got a shutter speed of 1/30th for a reason. And like, that's now allowing me to transfer that over to photographs and really create some, what I think are nice images. I may look at them in another 2 years and think, God, what was I doing? But I think I'll just improve and improve and improve until I get where I want to be. Or maybe I won't, maybe I'll just stay amateur, I don't know. I think it's always good to have a hobby. Like, I'm full of hobbies. If I had like £1 million, I would spend it straight away on just stuff for hobbies. Like, even though I have to spend months justifying a purchase, like I think, what did I buy the other week? That was like, I think it was like 20 quid. Oh, that was it. I bought a ukulele for about £30, and it took me like a week to get my head around that I was spending some money. But it was like, it was worth it, because now I know a few tunes on it and it's fun to play. And if I had £1 million, maybe I wouldn't have that sort of view, but I think it's just ingrained in me because I'm from Yorkshire. But if I had £1 million, I would spend it so quickly, because I'd buy loads of vintage hi-fi equipment, I'd buy loads of lenses and cameras, and I'd spend loads of money on getting film developed, and I'd buy old stuff and I'd have nowhere to put it. But it's just the fact that it's nice to own things. Like that Olympus Trip 35, even though I don't use it much, it's nice to have it in my collection of cameras so that it's there and I can look at it, because it is a beautiful piece of technology. You cannot disagree with the fact that that is an amazing feat of technology, because it uses no batteries, it's automatic. Unbelievable. But yeah, anyway, so to wrap this up, I'm just going to go over the equipment that I use on a daily basis when I go out on a shoot. I usually use one of 3 tripods. This tripod that I've got here, which is more of a video tripod, I believe it's the Veblen VideoMate 638, which is like the biggest one they do. It's got a fluid head on it, so it's really smooth. But that's more for video. It's very heavy and very big, so I don't usually take that out with me, unless I'm actually doing some video out, which is quite rare. Mostly I just use a really old tripod that my granddad gave me ages ago to start YouTube with, when I started actually filming YouTube videos like this. Like, I think I used it for the first Technology Tuesday.
Hello, my name is Sam, and this is Technology Tuesdays.
Which was just me introducing it, and it was completely out of focus because the old camera didn't have autofocus. It was like, it was sort of a semi-autofocus, so you had to have your finger on the button, and then it'd focus, and then it'd stick in focus. Whereas this, I can put my hand right there, and it should focus on my hand, unless, well, I hide my face. But anyway, yeah, so you get what I mean. And look how it's changed the exposure as well. That camera didn't do it. Once you click record, it didn't change anything about what you were doing, which was a blessing and a curse, really. It meant that I could do the like dual shot things. So that was a Nikon D3100 with a 16 to 50 mil lens. Oh, 18 to 55 mil lens. Much like I've got on this one, but this is the Canon EFS mount version. That was the Nikon F mount, I believe, version, which is still used today for B cam, obviously. And then for this camera, I have the 16 to 55 mil Canon EFS mount, and also a Tamron 70 to 300 mil lens, which was sort of long-term loaned to me from my godfather, who had a Canon camera and had that lens, but he's gone over to a Sony A6000, which I've used from time to time actually. Some of the photos from Christmas 2016-17, the ones where I went around Howard Hall, if you follow my Instagram you can scroll down and have a look at those. Those were all taken on an Alpha A6000, which is their sort of like mid-range camera, I think, yeah. But anyway, that was such a nice camera to work with, because it just, the click and everything is so nice. And it actually took me back, because the noises that it make are very much like the first camera our family, the first digital camera our family ever had, which was a Sony camera, and it was only a little white point and shoot. We've still got it somewhere. I was trying to find it, but we can't. The Olympus Trip 35, obviously, the Fujifilm point and shoot that I used at first, that I use very rarely now. The cat's screaming at me again. And that's about it really. That's the extent of my camera equipment. And I think the camera is just about to run out of film. So thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, go and like, go and turn notifications on. And this was a good video. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Go and follow my Instagram and Facebook actually. There's a red cassette Facebook. The Instagram is Sam Eyre Photography, spelled E-Y-R-E, that's Air, and all one word. Go and follow that if you want to go and have a look at actually my photos rather than just listen to me talking about them. Hopefully you'll have seen one or two throughout the video to stop your eyes from getting bored. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. I don't know what that was all about, but anyway, goodbye.